guys. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about researching a design project. So researching a design project is like every time you go ahead and get a project from a client, you need to understand what the project is all about. And unfortunately, with this career, research is a necessity. So we're going to talk about researching a design project for this particular element. And the most important element is gathering information, getting to know who your client is, the subject of the project, and the audience who sees the project. Okay, so it's like you have to, when you get a project from a client, you have to understand what they do. What is it that they make? What is it that they service? What is it that makes them who they are? And of course, what they're trying to sell. What is it? What's the subject of the project that you're given? And who is it being sold to? So it's like, as an example, you have a manufacturer that builds CNC machines. Would you even know what those are? And are they going to be selling to children 5 through 18? More than likely not. More than likely, their audience is going to be manufacturers, some kind of like business that creates product. All right. CNC machines are very specialized, okay? So you have to understand who you're trying to sell it to. So you have to ask the right questions. Who is the company you're creating it for? What does your client do better than anyone else? Because a lot of businesses have competition. You know, I'm a photographer and I have to compete with several other photographers. So what is it about me that actually is different? What part of me is better or different from any of my other competitors? The project you're given, when is it due? All right. Could it be due this Friday? Could it be due tomorrow? Or was it due last week? Which I've gotten those before. Where is the design appearing? All right. Is it a billboard? Is it a brochure? Is it a newspaper ad? Where is it going to go? And why is the message being conveyed to an audience? What are they trying to do with it? All right. Why are they trying to sell it to somebody? All right. What are they trying to hope to accomplish from it? All right. So what you have to do is you have to prepare a design brief. You do all the research. You get information about the client, what the project is, when its time frame is. Then you have to figure out a design brief. This is where you are presenting to the client what you are going to do. And that's a company profile, who they are, design objective, what are you doing? Target audience, who are you selling it to? The main competitors, who are their competitors? Who are they trying to compete with? The product or service details, what is it you're trying to sell? All right, the market or legal requirements. Some places have different markets. It's like I'm competing with this area with photography, but there may be a different market when it comes to like Chicago or New York, where they may charge a higher price for my services. Okay. The media that's going to be used. Is it a television ad? Is it going to be a billboard? What's going to be used? The scope of the work. All right. How long is it going to take you? Basically figuring out, okay, this may end up taking me longer than what you may project. So take it upon yourself to realize and take note about how long it takes you to do things, because the scope of the work, there is a term in graphic design called scope creep. And this is where you don't quote the job properly. So it's like if you do a brochure and it takes you, on average about 2 hours to design it. Well, factor in, you have to present it to the client. Client's going to have changes. Those changes will come back. Then you have to get it back to the client for them to approve it. And then come back. Then they say, well, let's change this. And so on and so forth. It's like it keeps building upon itself. So that 2-hour project may end up taking you 6-7 hours to do in all entirety. Okay, so it may take you 2 hours to design it, but when you factor in all the changes, when you factor in all the corrections, the presenting, the getting it ready for the printer, all that stuff does creep up. All right, so figure out the scope of the project. The budget and the timetable, again, very, very connected to that scope of work. All right. If you have a project that's due by noon today, you have to figure out, okay, when do I have to have it done? And they need to approve it by such and such a time so that you can make changes and then get it to wherever it needs to go by noon. All right, so figure out that budget and timetable. All right, and design examples. All right, what you may end up focusing on, stuff like that. All right, conducting virtual world and actual world research. Use the online resources, but don't forget the need for actual paperwork. All right, you can use all kinds of sources to get your research. All right, researching online is one of the things that we do often. But sometimes you have to conduct research in a physical world. So like we talk about doing individual research, researching a specific audience to find clues that help you to communicate better. All right. We have to design it in such a way that's going to entice the public. That audience is crucial. So what we do is we actually end up doing what they call the personas. In graphic design, we deal with a lot of big time agencies do this where they're basically doing the research, but then they make up a profile of a certain audience and who they're trying to design for. We oftentimes look at it as we design for ourselves because we like certain colors, we like certain fonts, we like, but it's not, you may not be the audience. You may be the one that is total opposite of who they're trying to sell it to. So you have to think in terms of who is the audience and what are they thinking. So we come up with these personas, which are just imaginary people based on research of who their audience is. And this is what we can come up with. It's like a lot of big time agencies do this just to kind of get an idea about who they're trying to sell it to. All right, there's observational research, conducting research in the actual environment. All right, there is observational. One of the things here is we center around the cereal box psychology. All right, this has been going on for decades. All right, there is a reason for a lot of cartoon characters on cereal boxes because what it does is pay attention the next time you go to the grocery store. Where are the kids' cereals? Pay attention to that. Where are they? Are they within reach of a kid? More than likely, yes. And also look at the eyes of the characters on them because more than likely they are looking down towards the kid. All right, so they maintain that eye contact. So there is a psychology behind cereal boxes and how they relate to the kids that are being with their parents going in saying, I want this, and they go grab it, able to reach it and grab it and put it in the cart themselves. So there is a whole psychology to it. The adult ones are usually on top for the adult to reach. All right, there's also focus groups. All right, a more controlled environment comprising of 8 to 12 samplings of client audience. So when we're dealing with focus groups, we're dealing with getting together a group of people that are your targeted audience, and then having them do certain tasks, asking them their opinion of stuff of a certain project. We call them focus groups. A lot of you who may deal with video games may know that there are what we call beta versions of certain games that they release to a certain amount of people online as a test version. All right, and then they want you to download it, they want you to play it, but they also want you to refer as feedback from it. All right, that is also is called a focus group for that. All right, we are defining the problem. Identify what the problem is that the client needs help solving. All right, we have to define what the problem is. Right, what are they trying to sell? Are they trying to sell a certain product? Are they trying to sell a certain message, certain service? Any of that is the problem as far as what you have to deal with. You have to deconstruct the problem, pull it apart to understand the problem better. Look at all aspects, things that are related around it, all right, to figure out what that problem needs to be solved. There's techniques for visualizing research converting into visual form. All right, you conducted all the research, you've gotten all the variables, and what you were asked to do is basically create visuals. And some of those revolve around mood boards, which are basically a visual material, kind of like interior designers do this a lot, where they develop this board that will basically have a certain look and a certain feel of things that are collected and put onto this board. All right, so it allows you, the client, to kind of like see a visual representation of the information you collected. All right, there's positioning charts, which is a way of visualizing a strategic position of a company. So like if we're looking at this particular chart, you notice that there are certain candies, certain chocolates, I should say, where this is centered around chocolates. All right, you look at certain chocolates here, and there are some that are ranked as low price and low quality. Then there's some that are done as high quality and then high price. Okay, so you look at these, where are they positioned on this chart of certain chocolates? Where do you want your client's thing to be positioned at? If your client is like doing a special recipe that is ranked as kind of like a very upscale type chocolate, you may want to go with the higher quality and the higher price. Or you see a lot of chocolates out around the holiday time where they just basically push out as many as they possibly can, and they have it as a low quality but mid-range price. So there's word techniques, which are mapping words into a diagram-based sketch. All right, so you come up with like a word, and those words kind of split off to other words, and then those words split out to other ones to get it a visual representation of some of the research that you're dealing with. And maybe it's certain words that you're coming up with to kind of like determine a new tagline or something like that. Then with all the research and all the positioning charts, you come up with a saturation point. This is where you collect and absorb information until reaching an end point. This point where you collected as much information as you possibly can, that you can't collect anymore. Categorize, edit, and process the accumulated material. All right, like sort them, determine what's different or what's good and what's not. All right, and then if possible, allow some time to pass working on other projects. So when you collect and you categorize and you make everything all sorted and nice, then you do something else. All right, go walk away from the project for a little while. And this goes with a lot of projects. If you have time, work on it for a little bit and then go away. Do something else. And then come back, and then you should have some fresh new eyes to kind of like look at it. So when you are done working on other projects, review and analyze the information you collected to generate insight and imaginative concepts. All right? Figuring out that saturation or reviewing the information and going from there. All right, so that's it for this particular lecture. So I will let you guys go on this part. So we'll work on the next one, and hope you have a good day.